Hey folks, I'm just leaving the office. I don't have a canned topic that was submitted for questions, and I didn't see anything on experienced devs that I went back, like, just sitting in my car here, went back like 3 days, and I'm like, I've already kind of scrolled through this stuff. You guys have asked all the questions that need to be asked. I guess we're done. But I figured I'm gonna just talk through some of the stuff I'm working on. So just a heads up, if you don't like these types of videos, see ya in the next one. But if you're going to stick around, thank you so much. And a reminder that if you have questions, just leave them below in the comments. That's how this channel is driven. So, and if you want to submit anonymously, then just go to codecommute.com, submit your questions there, check a box, it's anonymous. Email says it's from me. And I have no idea who you are. And I do appreciate when you do it, because it's fun to talk through this stuff. So I think for me right now, big things, like I'm not going to talk about work. I'm going to talk about like me building software, because at work, I don't do that specifically. I manage teams, and that's part of building software, but I feel like that's maybe not interesting for people. You can let me know if you want to hear more about that, some of the stuff that I go through, then that's cool. I'm happy to talk about that, but I feel like most people that watch the channel are software developers, and so like I feel like when I don't have specific topics, if I go through software development, that's probably more interesting. But here we go. So I think for me, I have, and this is going to be brand ghost focus. So if you're familiar with the channel, I think you'll probably hear me talk about brand ghost a whole bunch. It's the platform that I build to post to social media. It is kind of the thing that powers all of my content creation. So it's built in .NET, hosted in Azure, all sorts of fun stuff. And so I have a whole pile of sort of different features that I'm building in Brand Ghost right now. And if I'm being honest with myself from like a software development perspective, I think probably like too much WIP, like too much work in progress. And definitely want to kind of, I don't know, get that sorted out. So we have a lot of, I'll kind of explain a little bit more as to why this happens. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's like in Brand Ghost that we offer as features, whether it's free or, you know, part of the paid tier. And so if it's a feature that people can use, it's going to be in the user interface. And if it's a paid-for feature, then it's going to be in the user interface, right? So we have all these things that need to work, obviously, end-to-end. It's software. But because I use it for my own content creation, and a lot of the features that we have in Brand Ghost are built because I, you know, it's like sort of a requirement or a need I had in my own content creation. A lot of these things started off as like, they're not like a user-facing feature, right? It's functionality. Like Brand Ghost used to be headless, right? It was just like a server that was running, and I kept adding functionality to it until we were like, let's put a user interface on this and turn it into something real. So Brand Ghost has almost always operated like that. Buddy, you got to speed up. Come on, we're merging on the highway. Oh boy. Okay, let's get out of this lane as quick as we can. One more. Okay. So as a result of that, there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, hey, like, this is going to be helpful for me getting more out of my content creation, and I'm going to start building it, right? So I build the features, I use them, and there's some stuff that's been running, like, that hasn't had, you know, user-facing functionality for, like, over a year. And the side effect of that is, like, it's really cool because I can go build it. I love to build stuff. It solves my need, and then I can kind of prove as a content creator that there's value in it, right? But how many people really need that? This is where, from a priority perspective, it's not, you know, arguably not the best use of time. Like, wouldn't it be great to only focus on the things that people say, hey, I will literally give you money if you have this feature. Or I am paying you and this feature doesn't work the way I want. So like focus on that because I'm paying you for a service, right? If we had that like, you know, a solid pipeline like that, then it would be like, okay, we just keep building those things that people are saying they're going to exchange money for. Makes sense. But as we're scaling up and acquiring users, there's sort of this situation where we have to discover users and like have users discover us. So when I'm saying discover users, what I really mean is that like if you haven't tried this before, you can't just make a website, put it online, and then be like, well, everyone's going to show up now. And you could have a product or a service that does solve a lot of people's problems. And you know, if it's not marketed, if it's not communicated to other people, then they just simply won't know it exists. My goodness, that is a lot of braking. So like, we need to balance like building things and marketing and like getting in touch with users. So, sorry, I'm gonna have to pause for just a sec because this is like insanity to try and get over here. There's too many people trying to go into the lane I was just in and people coming into the lane I'm in now. Okay, I think we're good. So, yeah, the tricky part is that like I, as a builder, right, I am building stuff where I'm like, I know this is solving my need, but is that the most effective use of time from like a business perspective? And I would argue the answer is no, it's not, if I'm being honest with myself, right? So I think I have to pay attention to that because as the person who is building parts of the functionality, it's a lot easier for me to go, I'm also a content creator. I have this thing that I want, like a flow that I want optimized. I'm going to go build that. And I don't think that there's anything necessarily like wrong with that. I just don't think that it's necessarily the right priority. And as a result now, I mean, this isn't the only reason. I think it's in part that's influenced it. There's a lot of things that are like a work in progress because yes, they function. They function very well and I use them all the time, but they function for me. So we have to kind of get them to a spot where we can start turning things on in the user interface, thinking about how people interact with that, user workflows, user experience, this kind of stuff. But I would say what's really cool is that because there is a lot of stuff that's a work in progress, when we start kind of tapping into different user groups and seeing, because like it's pretty broad, right? There's a lot of people that create content and it's not just like a content creator necessarily, right? Like I consider myself a content creator because I'm not selling like software development services. I'm not like a business in that regard. I'm creating content and trying to help educate people. So I'm a content creator. And there's other people that are, their entire focus, like they run like a coaching business, right? Okay, so maybe they consider themselves more of a business. There's other people that are literally, they have like a, mom and pop shop, or they have a store, or they have whatever, they have a small business and they're like, we need a social media presence. So they're not, air quotes, a creator, but they need to be publishing stuff on social media. So there's all sorts of different user groups, and like our tool can be used across all of them. For folks that have worked on MVPs before and started like shipping software, and ideally you target a niche and you kind of go in on that, and that way it's not all over the place. But because we can solve a bunch of problems, I think we're trying to narrow down on a niche to get some like additional traction. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it's not like a full-time effort from anyone who's working on it, which is also challenging, right? Like I have a day job. And so this all has to get done like outside of work hours. So what's cool though is that when we start talking to people and they're like, oh man, yeah, like we have this kind of problem, and I'm like, awesome, because like you might not see it in the user interface, but like I have this problem solved because I also have it and or had it, and I built a solution for it. So I think we're kind of at the point now where we need to, there's a couple of things where I would say they're like net new features where people have asked for them and they're like, hey, we want to like work with you to land these features so that we can onboard and leverage Brand Ghost, which is super cool. To me, that's like the most exciting kind of thing, because we get to build stuff that people are like, they're asking for, right? They're like, we will literally buy your service if you build this thing, because it will literally solve our problem. That's exciting. Gotta move over lanes here, sorry. And so we got some of those, which is awesome. And then we have some where, like I said, we're having some conversations going on where people are like, hey, like, I wish we could do this thing. And it's like, actually, like, we do that thing. And we'll start turning some of that on. So in both cases, we have some people to partner with that are interested in, using the service in a different capacity. I gotta switch lanes one more time. Okay, we're good. Don't you dare come in front of me, sir. I'm gonna move over one more lane so no one jumps in front of me. Okay. So to give you some examples, right? Like I'm gonna talk through some of these features because I think they got some interesting challenges. We have one feature that when you publish content to a platform, so let's take YouTube videos, is very relevant. This is a video, as you might have noticed. All videos, technically, you could pull a transcript from. And so one of the selfish reasons that Code Commute is really awesome for me is that Code Commute is just videos of me talking, right? Code Commute is a lot of content that is spoken by me in a way that I naturally speak. I have almost 400, at the time of recording, almost 400 Code Commute videos. And that means I have almost 400 transcripts that are ranging from like roughly 10 minutes to like 40 minutes in that neighborhood. So there's lots of transcripts, which means I have text content. And if you think about it as a content creator, what could I do with that? Right? So Brand Ghost, one of the primary functionalities, how do I even say that? One of the primary offerings that we're focused on is that there's a lot of things for generating AI content. We don't just want to have like what you see all over social media where it's like just like this bullshit AI slop. We want to be able to help people get content generated, at least to get through the writer's block. And the more content we have that is how you naturally speak or want to write, the more that we can make it like you. So the ultimate goal with Brand Ghost is not to say, hey, look, you never need to think for yourself to write your own content, but the goal is to say there's never a reason to be stuck again, right? We want to make sure that you don't have to spend time scheduling and, copying and pasting posts to different platforms. Like, let's get rid of that. We give that away for free because you shouldn't have to spend time on that. That's bullshit work. No one wants to do that. Let's automate it. But the next part is how do we make it so that if you're trying to think of like, man, I want to make a post about something, whether it's my business or content creation, whatever your purpose is, even if, say, I've been telling people, use Brand Ghost for learning in public, right? If you're like, yeah, but I don't even know like how I would talk, like how would I make a post on this? The more stuff that you can provide into Brand Ghost as a platform, the more that it can start creating content more effectively for you. So with these transcripts, we basically have them all, like all of the vector embeddings have been done. So now you can do semantic search on them. And then what we are able to do is generate posts for you. So I have been using Brand Ghost to do this like very heavily for a long time, and using like video transcripts to help generate content, because I am not the most creative person. I get writer's block a lot. Right? And it's like, hey, like I know I need to go write some more posts, or I want to go talk about this topic, and I'm like, I just don't know where to start. Okay, so like I can use Brand Ghost to help generate some of that. Now, is it perfect? No. And like we don't have AI solutions right now that are perfect at anything. But it's definitely helpful because it'll put together some posts for me, and then I can go through them and say like, hey, this at least feels like on the same page of something that I'd be talking about. Cool. Okay, is it formatted in the way that I would normally do? Maybe not really. Or like, did it embellish something? Like, you know, because it's trying to base it on content I have, but some of it's just also made up shit, which is a reality. Like, it's AI. So I go through and I look at the posts, and then I either delete them because it's not relevant, or I'm trying to make sure that I can make it closer to like something that I would write about. And so that's been a huge time saver on the content creation part. Not to mention that just the fact that it lets me post to all these platforms, like I don't spend time doing that, which is great. So this flow that we're trying to unlock, though, is going from like publishing on different platforms, whether that's like blog posts or YouTube videos, and getting transcripts for those. And basically you publish, and we can listen to what you're publishing, pull in the content automatically for you, run the embeddings on them so that we can have it indexed, and then find different creative ways to like repurpose your content for you. Okay, so one of them that I mentioned is posts. Blog articles is another one. We'll probably have the posts available before, like the social media posts before blog articles, because Brand Ghost currently does not publish blog articles to different platforms. So the sort of MVP of that, in my opinion, is like we can put a post that you can go copy and paste into your blogging platform. And then when people are like, hey, like we're getting metrics about people using the blog post generation, then we can say, great, like where are they trying to post these blogs to? Like WordPress? Cool, let's do WordPress integration. A lot of people use Substack. Substack doesn't have an API. I've been trying to get in touch with them. They seem to keep ignoring me, breaking my heart. And so, we'll reach out to different platforms that don't have APIs, ask them, but like basically pursue that, right? If people are using it for generating blog posts, great, let's do that. But that's something that our platform can do. So we have a few people that are interested in sort of that flow of going from, I'm creating content, I want to start pulling that content together to make more content. So we'll do that. That's in the bucket of like we have it working, but there's no user experience for it. So actually, I think I did make a YouTube video. There's a Brand Ghost YouTube channel if you want to check that out. No, it does not have a lot of subscribers. But on that channel, I put together a video showing the feature. It's currently not available at the time of recording this, but you can see how it's used. But anyway, that's one. I think where the only like sort of help I need is one of the guys on the team is better at prompting than I am significantly. And so there's a couple of scenarios where I'm like, it's going to sound funny. I'm like, the AI is literally doing what I'm telling it to, and that's almost a problem, because it's when I go to like see like, why is it doing this? I'm like, it's because I'm telling it, like I can see in my prompt, like I'm telling it and it's taking it too literally. I don't have a good way to explain this, but anyway, there's a guy on the team that's like much better at doing this kind of stuff than I am. So I think I need him to kind of play around and do a bit of tuning in how some of these prompts look. And then what gets generated will feel a lot better, because I think all the pieces are there, but some of the prompting is just not where it needs to be. So that's one. Pretty excited for that, but a lot of that functionality has been there for a long time. One that is new functionality is that we need the ability to manage groups. So this is kind of interesting. A lot of the like target user groups we've been focused on, it's like a single user, right? You're a content creator or you run a small business. Okay, like you log in your brand ghost account, but what happens if you're I don't know, like a social media agency or like a social media manager? You're doing like freelance work and you want to manage different clients. Like there's literally no reason that you couldn't do that in Brand Ghost, but we just didn't build the user interface for it. So not only the user interface, but as a single solo creator, like I didn't need a team. So you know, that's something that we're going to put in place. I was talking to my video editor for my main channel dev leader, and I said, hey, like I need shorts made, because I've been slacking on my short form videos for dev leader and for Code Commute. And I said, hey, if we get the Brand Ghost team functionality working, you can log in and you can put the short form videos into Brand Ghost for me. Because he'll clip them and stuff, and that would be super helpful. So anyway, I'm looking for ways, like always looking for ways to dog food, because I feel like if I am not actively using the features, that I'm less in touch with them. But what I was kind of hinting at earlier is I don't want to fall in that trap of only doing that, which is why we're trying to balance that out with making sure that we have users that are like, yes, we'll pay for that. So, I don't know if it's obvious. I'm trying to share all this because I'm giving you a little bit of insight into what it looks like as someone who loves to like actually build the software. I love coding it, but there's a business side to it too, right? It's too easy to just get focused on like, let me code this, let me refactor it. You run away from the hard stuff, and the hard stuff for me is like going to talk to people and be like, hey, are you interested in this? It's awkward for me. I'm not skilled at it yet, so it's too easy to run. I don't yet have a solid update on one of the videos I made earlier this week about some of the guardrails for agents. I just wanted to give a quick update on it because I was hoping that I would at this point, even though it's only been a few days. I use AI for a lot of code generation, and so I was really hoping to see that over the past couple days I'd have some good examples of this, but Copilot was down, not for all users, but for some users. GitHub Copilot just wasn't working. Guys, why are we stopping in this fast lane? Anyway, so I had like a bunch of, GitHub like work items made, and I was assigning them out, and then Copilot just wasn't doing it. But what I was talking about earlier this week was putting more guardrails in place with analyzers in C#. And the idea is that, yes, we can all get better at prompting. Yes, we can have like these better instruction files and better agent files and all this stuff, and we should. And we'll have to keep iterating and making better tools. But my hope was that I could put some analyzers in place, and they can actually look for different patterns and rules in the code and then fail the build when those patterns are not being met. And that way, even if the LLM is trying to go a little bit out of whack, and it's like, no matter how many times I tell it, like, follow the existing patterns for the tests, and it's like, no, it will literally just fail. Like, the build just won't work, and it won't have a choice but to go listen and do the right thing. And so this is going to be a work in progress because, and I just want to explain this a little bit more. The analyzers, and this is all speculation right now, but the analyzers will fail the build, and so that's cool. But what I don't want to have happen is that the AI, just as, let's use a test as an example, the agent writes the test and it does it incorrectly based on the style guides and formatting and just the approach for testing, gets a failed build, and then goes, oh, well, that didn't work, I know how to fix it, and then it deletes it. And I'm curious to see if the first wave of having these analyzers in place is like me giving prompts where part of the instruction is like, write the tests or follow these patterns, and it doesn't know how to do it properly, fails the analyzer, and then goes, oh, I guess I should just remove the code. I don't know if people have experienced this. I literally had it, Copilot started working again, and I had it in one of my most recent pull requests from Copilot. I was telling it to do something. Actually, it was with an analyzer. It was building an analyzer though. And so I said, you have the analyzer built now, and so basically go fix up the code where it's failing. Buddy, get in here. Puts his turn signal on and just waits. There's like 10 bus lengths of opening. So this is how great this is, right? Has this analyzer made, and I've pulled down the pull request before, and the analyzer's doing mostly what I think it should, so that's good. So it's great. I don't want to go through and fix up all of the spots in the code base where this pattern's currently not working, so Copilot, go do it. So I told it, like, go fix up the errors. So you know what it did? I guess it tried, and then it said, well, there's a lot of errors. If I just make the error a warning instead, and we don't fail the build on warnings, problem solved. Yeah, that's not what I asked you to do though. And I've seen other times where, it wrote tests, and then I'm like, hey, like, these tests will not work this way. Like, that's not the right pattern. And it's like, you're right. And then just deletes the tests. Like, nobody, I still want tests. I just don't want them to suck ass. So put the tests back. So I think that I need to make the analyzers have, I haven't proven this yet, but I think I need to make the analyzers have better instructions for when you encounter this, here is how to fix it. So when it gets compilation errors on build, it's like, oh, like, here's some concrete steps to go do. By default, or at least how these are built, they do have like some explanation, but I think I'm gonna have to go review them because it might explain why the analyzer is failing it, but it might not give clear step-by-step instructions for how to fix it. And my speculation right now is that agents will hit the wall, which will be good. It will stop them from doing bad things. But then it's going to be like, well, instead of fixing it, I'll just, work around it kind of thing. I'll get rid of it. So I'll report more on this with my experience doing it. Just wanted to share. That's kind of like still one of the things I'm looking at. I've just spent, like, the way it was describing this recently was, like, I already said this, I use AI a lot for generating code, and there's so many situations where it's done such a good job on the pull request, like the code I'm going through. And then let's use tests as an example, right? So it does the feature, I'm looking at the code, I'm like, this looks great, like, it's following everything I would want. I can tell, like, this is exactly how I was thinking about doing it, cool. And then I'm like, great, and it wrote tests, and then I go look at the tests, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, we could have just pressed submit on this thing, but these tests are, like, totally terrible. Totally. And usually by pattern, because I already mentioned, right, I do building for brand ghosts, like, outside of work hours. So there's times where I'm, like, going to bed, and I have a lot of ideas. Or before work, and I'm like, oh, I should, make this issue and assign it to Copilot. Sometimes by the time I get to reviewing it is such an inconvenient time if I have to go ask it to make fixes again, when I could have just had it done. right? Instead of pressing submit, I'm like, man, I have to go run this, don't write shitty test prompt overnight now, when I could have just pressed submit. So in this case, it feels more like an optimization for me. And I do feel like it's kind of interesting. I was in one of the other videos on Code Commute recently. We're talking about pull requests and AI slop and stuff, and my whole talk was, look, forget that there's AI that's creating the slop, and like, how would you address it if it was just a teammate that was putting up pull requests that were following patterns that you didn't like? Like, how would you do that? You'd probably have a conversation with them. Like, so there's all these things where I'm like, I just think that AI is exaggerating them. And yeah, I feel like this is just like one of these situations where I'm hoping I can optimize my flow, because having good analyzers in place, forget AI. If I had good analyzers in place, that would mean that someone could come into my code base that hadn't worked in the product. They could start to write code, and if it's not following the patterns, the analyzers would put some red squigglies under the code and say, you can't do that. And if you think about it, what's the next step? They're going to go, well, okay, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, thank you for telling me that I can't, and maybe why I can't, but like, what am I supposed to do? And maybe that's what's missing for these LLMs. So a lot of these situations where I'm either getting frustrated by LLMs or finding inefficiencies, a lot of the time I'm kind of going like, if it was a person, like, how would I do this, right? And in that example I just gave you, it's like, tell someone why and give them a good example of like how to do it properly. Right? It's kind of interesting. I think there's a lot of stuff like this that's kind of surfacing for me when I'm working with LLMs and stuff. So also kind of meta, but I can't wait for like 10 years from now thinking about this topic, because I wonder how far gone or how different things will be. It's like, remember when we used to have to like explain shit to AI for it to get it right, and now like I can just think of something when I'm flying in my car and the agents are building. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really curious. I think we're going through a lot of growing pains right now, because you can do some really powerful stuff, but also it lets us create lots of code, and lots of code doesn't mean good code. So yeah, I don't know. Very interesting, but I'm almost at home, so I'm going to shut up now. And thanks for sticking with me. Hopefully we'll get back to more questions, which again, I'll remind you, questions, leave them in the comments, or go to codecommute.com. You can submit stuff anonymously there. Otherwise, I go to Experience Dev subreddit. And yeah, in the future, if you're listening to me answering some questions and stuff, if you want to share that on Reddit or Daily Dev or other social media platforms, I appreciate it. I think that just helps get different people to come to the channel, and hopefully we can help more people. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.